Welcome to The Explainer, where we distill complex ideas into clear, focused presentations.
We're kicking things off with a feeling that I think a lot of us can relate to. This idea that we're living in an age of chaos. That's how author Masaru Emoto saw the world, just full of conflict and confusion. And it got him wondering, could there be a simple, universal answer that everyone was just overlooking? For Emoto, the start of an answer came down to this one number, 70%. That's roughly how much of the average adult human body is made of water. I mean, think about it. We start out as fetuses that are 99% water, and we live our entire lives as water-based beings. This one simple fact became the bedrock of his entire worldview. So, naturally, this led him to ask a pretty huge question. If we're mostly water, what does that actually mean for our health and our happiness? He became convinced that if we could just understand water, we could unlock the secret to living better lives. The key, he thought, was to purify the very water that makes us who we are.
All right, let's dive right into this quest. It all started with a theory that, let's just say, was not exactly mainstream science.
Emoto was completely captivated by this concept of water memory, this hypothesis that water can literally copy and store information. I mean, he imagined that oceans might hold the memories of every creature that ever lived in them, or that glaciers could be storing millions of years of our planet's history. But as you can probably guess, the scientific community just rejected the idea outright, because there was no known way for water molecules to actually do that. The scientific world basically said, show us the proof. Without any kind of visible evidence, his idea was just, well, an idea. So Emoto set out on a mission to find a way to make water's hidden memory visible to the naked eye. Okay, now we get to the breakthrough moment. And believe it or not, it came from a very, very unexpected place. The inspiration came from a simple phrase that we all learn as kids, right? No two snow crystals are exactly the same. For Emoto, this was a huge light bulb moment. It got him thinking, if every single snowflake is unique, what would happen if he froze different kinds of water samples and looked at their crystals? Could they reveal the information stored inside? So he and his team developed this incredibly painstaking process. They'd freeze the samples, and these tiny little ice drops would form. Then, as the temperature started to rise and the ice began to melt, these crystals would appear, but only for about 20 or 30 seconds. It was in that tiny, magical window that they had to scramble to capture their photographs. And this photography method became the exact tool he used to test his core theory, that water actually responds to the vibrations all around it, from words and music to even our own intentions. First up, they tried music, and according to their findings, the results were pretty dramatic. Water that was exposed to Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony was said to produce these beautiful, perfectly formed crystals. But in total contrast, they reported that water exposed to heavy metal music, well, it produced crystals that were fragmented and malformed. Next, they did something even more unusual. They literally just taped pieces of paper with typed words on them onto bottles of water. And their results, they said, show this consistent pattern. Water exposed to positive words like thank you reportedly formed these gorgeous hexagonal crystals, while water shown negative words like you fool created malformed, broken-looking ones. Now, here's where it gets really interesting to me. What Emoto found so fascinating was that it wasn't just about the words themselves, but the intention behind them. He observed that a collaborative phrase like, let's do it, created these lovely, well-formed crystals. But the forceful command, do it, well, that barely formed any crystals at all. So, after all these experiments, what did Emoto actually conclude? What was the ultimate message that he believed water was trying to show all of us? This is how he described the crystal that formed when water was exposed to the words love and gratitude. He called it the most beautiful, most delicate crystal he had ever seen. In fact, he said it was so stunning that it actually changed his life from that moment on. And this all led him to his central conclusion. If human consciousness, our words, our feelings, our intentions, could affect water in a bottle, then it must also have a huge impact on the 70% of our own bodies that's made of water. He even proposed a model for emotional balance based on the water molecule itself. In H2O, he saw love as that single oxygen atom, this active, giving energy. And then gratitude was the two hydrogen atoms, a more passive, receiving kind of energy. He actually suggested that we should all strive for a balance of 2 parts gratitude to 1 part love. So these are the core messages Emoto believed the water was showing us through his work. That everything in existence is just vibration. That water acts like a mirror, reflecting all those vibrations, the good and the bad. And ultimately, that our own consciousness has the power to create and change the reality we live in. And so we're going to end with a final thought. Emoto's work, whether you view it as science or just philosophy, it leaves us with a really powerful question. If, like he claimed, our thoughts and words can leave a physical imprint on water, then what messages are we sending every single moment to the water that makes up our very own bodies?